Ever get a kick out of those, huh? Never thought of it that way connections?
Mm-hmm.
We're diving into one of those today. Get this. Autism and Atheism.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. Our source material is Autism and Atheism, exploring the connection from Chief ABA. And before anyone jumps to
Yeah.
conclusions,
Right.
this isn't about saying if you're autistic, you must be atheist or the other way around.
Not at all.
It's about those overlaps, like, that's a curious link.
Exactly. The source really stresses that this is about how being autistic, the way someone thinks, might play a role in what they believe about religion or anything else.
So like how their brain's wired kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a big one. They talk about cognitive differences. Basically, research says autistic folks might be more likely to be critical thinkers.
Questioning everything.
Exactly, not just taking things at face value. And that includes, religious stuff.
Makes sense. Instead of just blindly believing, they're like, but WHY, prove it.
Right. And that need for proof, for solid evidence, it doesn't always mesh well with faith, right?
Because faith is, well, believing even if you can't see it scientifically.
Exactly. And the book really argues that for some autistic people, they need that tangible, provable explanation.
Like the idea of a higher power being kind of abstract just doesn't click the same way if you're wired for logic and hard facts.
It's not that it's wrong, it's just different. And this leads to another fascinating bit sensory stuff.
Oh, like how loud a church service can be.
That and more. Ever thought about how being autistic with sensory sensitivities plays into a religious setting?
I'll admit I hadn't until reading this. But yeah, the lights, the crowds.
It's a lot for anyone.
Imagine if your senses were already on high alert.
Exactly. That echoing in a cathedral incense smells. For some, it's comforting, but
If it's sensory overload waiting to happen.
you would make someone want to avoid religion altogether, even if the beliefs themselves were okay.
It's like you can't even get to the spiritual part if your brain's yelling, get me out of here.
And that feeling sticks with you. Makes you wonder about other stuff, too, like if socializing's hard in general.
Which, for many autistic people, it is.
Right. So then religious communities with all their own rules and stuff.
Oh, yeah, and those unspoken ones are the worst.
Yeah, you can totally feel like an outsider.
And if you already find it tough to fit in, that could really push someone away from religion, huh?
Makes you think about how welcoming those communities are, for anyone who's different.
For sure.
Yeah.
But even with all this, the book makes it clear this autism-atheism link, it's not a guarantee.
Oh, absolutely not. Being autistic doesn't make you an atheist automatically. Just like not believing doesn't mean you're on the spectrum.
People are more complicated than that.
Right. We all know someone who breaks the mold.
Exactly. This is more about those nuances, those could-be situations.
And we got to remember plenty of autistic people find comfort in religion. That structure, the rituals.
Even the sensory stuff, for some, it's calming, not overwhelming.
It all goes back to the spectrum, right? No two people are the same.
So, no stereotyping allowed.
Definitely not. The book really pushes that avoiding generalizations, being open-minded.
Because whether it's autism, atheism, anything, it comes down to respecting each other,
The differences are what make us interesting.
This whole thing's got my brain going, though. If our senses, how we think, can impact our beliefs.
What else could it affect, you're saying?
Yeah, like maybe even what kind of art we like, or music.
Makes you wonder if it's all connected deeper down.
Like there's a reason we gravitate towards certain things.
And those reasons might surprise us.
Totally. So being self-aware is important, and realizing others might not see things the same way.
Being understanding is key, that's for sure.
It's like we all have our own ways of navigating the world, right?
Totally. And judging someone based on those differences, especially about something as personal as religion, well, that's not cool.
Not at all. So, as we wrap this up, what's the big takeaway you hope sticks with people?
I think for me, it's realizing that there's always more to the story. Like, why someone believes what they do, it's complicated.
Not always black and white.
Right. And even though we focused on autism and atheism, the bigger picture is to be curious about people,
Have empathy, try to see things from their side.
Exactly, because you never know what aha moment you'll have when you actually listen.
Totally. And maybe this deep dive will get people thinking, spark some interesting conversations of their own.
That's what it's all about.
For sure.
Yeah.
So until next time, everyone keep those brains ticking. And remember, sometimes the most fascinating stuff is found when we dig a little deeper.
Couldn't agree more.
And on that note, we'll catch you folks on the next deep dive.